I'm also the owner of the Union Brew House in Weymouth. I think I know just about everybody in this room. But I want to acknowledge the mayor. Thank you for coming, Mayor Hedlund. And are there any other public officials in the room that I should acknowledge? I know Lou Rizzo from the O'Connor campaign is here, and I appreciate that very much. Okay, so the question people ask me is, how do I know John, right? So back in 2016, 2017, I was trying to figure out what the hell this Bitcoin thing was all about, right? So I had a little free time and I dove into the Bitcoin thing, and then some point in like maybe 2017, I figured out this little digital asset called XRP. And XRP is a little bit better than Bitcoin in the sense that it is cheaper, faster, and more environmentally sound, because you don't need mining, so you don't have to spend the money on electricity or whatever. So this is a little bit roundabout way, but how I got to know John. In 2020, there was a lawsuit filed against a company called Ripple. And Ripple, the company, is, for lack of better terms, the steward of XRP, right? So they own a majority of it, or at least they did, and they were getting sued by the Securities Exchange Commission for having sold the security. And so I read the lawsuit in 2020, and I was like, this doesn't sound right. This is a bunch of baloney. And I wasn't impressed by their arguments. And then I'm practicing law, and I'm also running the Union Brew House, and we're involved in development and everything else. And I didn't have time to really dive into it, like really deeply. And then came John Deaton. The guy I didn't know, but he just started on YouTube sort of explaining the lawsuit, right? So I didn't have to, and I felt relieved that I didn't have to. Him and a few others, there were, Jeremy Hogan, James Phelan. There were all these legal professionals that had experience in the federal court that were explaining what the lawsuit was about. And so John Deaton just didn't explain it, though. What he did was he said, you know what, I'm going to enter into this lawsuit as a defendant, as an XRP holder, and I'm going to gather other XRP holders, enter it as a class action lawsuit as a defendant, and we're going to fight this. We're going to fight this on behalf of people that bought XRP and are being, hurt by the SEC's lawsuit. So I filed an affidavit along with 76 some odd thousand XRP holders, and so I'm his client. He's my attorney. He's my attorney. He represented me in that case, and the case proceeded over a number of years, and then it came to summary judgment, and XRP was declared not a security. It's like crazy. Like, no one wins against the SEC, but John Deaton won against the SEC. So fast forward to November of last year, I was on vacation with Stacy and Jason Thayer, and I brought John's book. Oh, Loretta, my lovely wife Loretta. And I bought John Deaton's book, Food Stamp Warrior. So I couldn't put it down. They kept asking me what I'm doing over there in the corner. And
I was
like,
testament to that. I saw you, and he was telling me about it.
I'm on vacation. So I told Jason all about it. I'm like, I don't know. The next chapter is going to be awesome. Jason's a former Marine as well, and so I learned that John Deaton grew up in a ghetto, essentially in Detroit. Tremendous amount of violence, At age 14 or so, he was forced with a dilemma. He was either going to kill somebody or somebody was going to kill him. The violence was that bad. And John took a different approach. He said, I'm gonna make a decision. I'm gonna go find a school that will take me. And he talked his way into a Catholic school in Detroit. And he worked to pay for that. He graduated. And he was the first in his to graduate, first in his family to graduate. That got him into college, and college brought him to New England School of Law. He lived in Roxbury. There's a great story in the book about that. He met the doorman at New England School of Law, and he said, it's a hell of a book. Everyone's heard all about it from me. So he said, where would a guy like me not want to go? And they said, you don't want to go to Roxbury. Yeah. And so he got the cheapest rent, and he put himself through New England School of Law, working in Roxbury. So after law school, he went to the Marine, joined the Marines. And so he became successful defense counsel, and he was so successful they made him a prosecutor, and he learned his way around the courts. So at some point he got married, he had 3 beautiful daughters, and he became very successful. He risked everything, essentially, to go into private practice, put all of his money up, go into deep debt, and then he started representing people in mesothelioma cases, and he became very successful at that with his trial experience. So it's really an amazing story. He represented veterans and other people in Massachusetts that had mesothelioma and had claims. He's been a licensed practicing attorney in Massachusetts, so he has deep connections to Massachusetts.
22 years?
And I was telling Jason Thayer about this, and I said, I don't know, I think he's thinking about running against Elizabeth Warren. And Elizabeth Warren is one of these people that is just super pro-bank and super anti-crypto. So she's been on my radar for quite a while. And I gave the book also to Keith, and Keith read it, and I was like telling everybody, I said, I think he's gonna run, and now he is. So I'm very excited about that. So John Deaton is exactly what Massachusetts needs. John is exactly what this country needs. He's the kind of person that the founders had in mind when they formed the republic. He's a citizen who went through turmoil, who went through challenges. He has demonstrable good moral character. He has demonstrable competence, a proven track record of success. Read his book. It's all in here. If you want to know anything about John, it's not all pretty. I got to tell you, it's not all pretty. He made some tough choices. He's been through some hardships. He's been through violence. He's had perseverance, and he's stuck with it through impossible odds. So this is the next chapter for John. And guess what? You're all in the next chapter. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce you to the next senator from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, John Deaton.
I got to bring Ray on the road. Those are tremendously kind words. Thank you. Thank you, Ray. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Pamela, thank you for all your hard work. You know, I'm going to share with you the first person that I ever talked about running were my 2 grown daughters. I have 3 daughters, 23-year-old Olivia and 22-year-old Jordan. And they convinced me to run because of their reaction. And I said to them, I said, listen, girls, Daddy's thinking of running for U.S. Senate against Elizabeth Warren. And they looked at me kind of shocked because I had never really talked about running. It's not something that was this huge aspiration. And they said, Daddy, you know, you're always good at what you do, but we don't think you can win. And I said, why? And they said, because you're too honest. And you won't sell out, and you won't say things that you don't believe in. And I said to them, that can't be the standard that this country has. And so
Nice. That's awesome.
I felt even more compelled. And so when people ask me why am I running, I really honestly feel compelled. I can assure you when I wrote that book, Elizabeth Warren doesn't have to do any research. It's all right there. That's her opposition research, because there are things in there that are not so pretty. You know, I write in the book, back of the book, I call it my confession or my exorcism. You know, things that you deal with in life. Some, you know, unfortunately things happen. I talk about as a child being raped repeatedly over a couple period of years from someone in the neighborhood, and some other adversities, other types of violence. And, you know, I ignored that for years and years because I want to escape poverty. Because poverty, it handcuffs your mind, it handcuffs your spirit, your ambitions. And so finally, I realized after I become successful and I was a good father, unlike my father who was disappeared in life, that unexamined trauma can reach you, your past. And so I talk about the book and overcoming adversity and things like that. But the reason I feel compelled to run is because the country is in a crisis, and I honestly believe Massachusetts is ground zero in that crisis. And we all in this room know that, you know, illegal immigration is completely out of control. We have a debt problem in the country, 34 trillion in debt, the government, credit card debts over $1 trillion at an all-time high. 40% of Americans don't have $500 set aside in case of an emergency. Inflation, housing, all grocery costs skyrocketing, impacting regular people, making it harder for working families. Over 1 million deaths in America due to the opioid addiction, which of course is connected to the first crisis I mentioned, which is the border crisis. You look overseas and the world is in chaos. You got, you know, Iran and the Houthis in the Red Sea, and Ukraine and Russia. You've got Israel and Gaza. But when you look at what's the biggest crisis in America today, it's a crisis of leadership in Washington, D.C. And the elites like Elizabeth Warren, who have sold out and are ruining this country. And the division in this country is destroying the country. And so when you talk about my book, the real reason I'm running is because when you look at me, you are seeing the living, breathing embodiment of the American dream. From that kind of poverty to running for United States Senate in Massachusetts, I am the American dream. And I told my daughters, I'm sitting back and I'm watching it die before me. And I refuse to be the last poor kid in this country to survive and to make it. And so that's why I felt compelled, because when you look at the Senate, you don't see someone who's experienced poverty. You don't see someone who understands this feeling that, look, I'm doing all the right things. I'm checking all the boxes. I'm living right. I'm doing everything the right way, and I still can't get ahead. And you feel like you're drowning. And you look at the Senate, you don't see that. You know, Elizabeth Warren is the epitome of Washington, D.C. 12 years ago, she went to, you know, you brought up the banks and crypto. 12 years ago, she pounded the table that no banker went to prison after the 2008 financial crisis. She was going to Washington, D.C. to hold the bankers accountable. And guess who just wrote that last bill? The Banking Institute in the United States, led by Jamie Dimon and J.P. Morgan Chase. So the people that she went to hold them accountable are now writing her bills. That's the epitome of what happens in Washington, D.C. And the other reason I'm running is I know it's an uphill battle, but I'm telling you I can win. She's never faced a candidate. She wants to talk about income inequality. That's a political slogan to her. It's my life. I just don't have the same approach that she has. I know what poverty is. I don't have to pit American versus American. I don't have to just fight against people. You can fight for people. It's a different fundamental approach. And I think when she faces that, then it's going to be a different outcome. So thank you for being here. Listen, 64% of voters are unenrolled in Massachusetts. There's something in the air. People are sick and tired of what's going on in Washington, D.C. So if I have people like you helping me get there, I promise you, I will bring this home. She's already knows I can win because I was just on the phone today with a lawyer in Texas who said, laughing on the phone, and said, John, I got an email 2 days ago from Elizabeth Warren. and there's a whole paragraph on you. What a credible threat you are. You're a threat to democracy. You're a threat this way. You're a threat that way. And so she mentioned me at St. Patrick's Day breakfast by name. She's worried, and she should be worried, because if I can get people like you to come out and support me, we're gonna win. I guarantee you. So if you can introduce me to anyone that you know in your network, I will meet any person, anywhere, anytime, because I might not be able to out-bullshit her, I might not be able to out-gaslight her, I might not be able to out-raise the money that she'll raise, but I will absolutely outwork her. Okay, so thank you very much for being here.